with LLMs, what I find fascinating is that you can actually get improvements out of iterations. So I think when LLMs really came out, I still had this idea that all the knowledge was just captured within this system, like giant neural network, and then you ask it something and it just gives you the best response. But then it turns out that actually, if you then feed it back in and say, "Oh, like, is this? What do you think about this response?" It can critique it and actually iterate on it and get better.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Dynaway Dialogues. It's good to have Jonas Dahl here with us. Jonas is he's senior product manager for supply chain management at Microsoft, and Jonas, of course, specializes in AI and machine learning, specifically, for the supply chain solutions within Microsoft, specifically Microsoft Dynamics. It's really good to have you here. Thanks for joining the session today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Of course, it's exciting to have you on the show today. I really appreciate it, Jonas. But I would love to hear a little bit about your background, kind of your journey to Microsoft, and how you ended up in your current position.
Sure. I don't know if you can learn too much from this because it seems a little bit like a random walk.
Okay.
But so let's see, where did I start out? I started out with always being fascinated by understanding the world and mathematics and stuff like that, which led me to pursue engineering. So I started out getting a master's in mechanical engineering. I got so excited about it, I did a PhD within the same topic, got really excited about specifically like fracture mechanics, topology optimization, all kinds of stuff like that. And then I guess during my PhD, I thought, well, I should also understand a little bit about business. I always felt kind of intimidated when I talked to people about, like just businesses, valuation, customer, all kinds of stuff like that. So I thought, okay, maybe I should try to equip myself a little bit more for these things. So I decided to do an MBA, and I was like looking at different options, and first I was like, oh, I should go to MIT. That's like where all the engineering folks go, right? But then I realized maybe I should try something completely different. So I ended up doing my MBA at Yale, which is, like really a liberal arts type of place, which was amazing. It was really great, and just got a completely different set of perspectives on different things, and is for sure a great ride. And the problem with an MBA is it's so broad that you can do a lot of different things after. So I was like, oh, maybe I should go into consulting, maybe investment banking.
Right.
And then I realized, oh, actually tech is really great. And I got excited about big tech, but then I was also thinking, well, every single company will need more and more IT people and people who know about tech. So this seems like a great kind of evaluating the market a little bit and saying, okay, let's do this. So I ended up with Adobe, which I loved. Worked on some of their marketing tools, and I just got really excited about building products. And it just gave me an opportunity to leverage a lot of my technical knowledge and technical background, and then also, talk to customers, understand their needs, build stuff they can use. And all in all, I just find it super fascinating. And I guess I'm really excited about this thing that you go from a place where you don't have this thing. And then after a lot of, trials and tribulations, you end up building a product that, potentially thousands of people use every day. And I'm just really excited about that whole journey. And so that led me to, I guess done product management for like 10 years now. So 6 years with Adobe, and then I made the change to Microsoft, first on our customer insights platform. So basically a CDP, and then recently I changed to the ERP world, which feels a little bit like going back to my roots, because as a mechanical engineer, I did have a fair amount of, supply chain training and stuff like that. So it's funny how the world works. And so now I found myself here where I work on, so on the asset management for on the PM side, and I'm also doing some work in the AI space for a manufacturing module.
Excellent. So you've had a long and winding road to get to where you are today. For those out there that want to get into product development, product management, any advice you'd give them? What would you do differently, maybe?
I don't know if I wanted to do things too differently. I think it's very useful to have a technical background. I think find it much more much easier to go from a technical background and then pick up some of these skills around how do you talk to customers, how do you understand what they need, and things like that, compared to the other way around. So I probably would start there, kind of load up on technical skills first. And what else? I don't know. I guess you can have different motivations for being in product, but I just feel like it's the best career that I could imagine, because you get to do so many different things on a daily basis, and you're really kind of thinking about success broadly. You like, the product needs to work, it needs to be delivered in a meaningful way. The customers need to understand the value prop and how they use it. You get to work with marketing, you get to interact with our customers, see how they use our product. Sometimes, completely different from what you thought they would do with your product, and just things like that are super exciting. But I think, just back to your question, I think the most important thing is, for me at least, I found that to be super useful to be to at least have a solid technical background. And it's funny how I think a lot of the foundational things can be applied pretty broadly. So, for example, I did my master's thesis in topology optimization, which is a pretty specific area, area in solid mechanics. And basically, you solve this giant optimization problem, which is exactly the same that you see now with AI, that is basically like big optimization problems. So in that sense, if you kind of understand the underlying mathematical structures, then it's easy to pivot, and you can easily ramp up on pretty complicated stuff. So I guess that would be my recommendation.
Right. That's fascinating. I see here that you've attended a lot of universities. Yale, you mentioned Aalborg University in Denmark, a few others, Harvard. I'm curious, like, what can you tell us a little bit about what those experiences were like, what the differences were in those in your learning journey in those places? What did you take away from that?
I think every single place I studied and worked for that matter, you pick up different things.
Hmm.
I think at least the first time I moved abroad, I felt like, oh, my English is really great. But then, I got into a class and I felt like, oh, I only understand half of the words they're using here. So I think that's one thing. I think working with different cultures is pretty interesting. How,
Right.
especially when, I'm from a small country, Denmark, and you kind of feel like everyone's has kind of the same reference frame and understanding of things. And I found it personally very rewarding to interact with people who have completely different backgrounds. So you learn
Yeah.
that, yeah, people can be, pretty different, but also there's so many similarities. And I think
Right.
that's also fun to think about that, we're all human, we're kind of driven by the same type of things. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's been pretty fascinating. I would have to say that, just some of the learnings from studying abroad. Um, I've been very lucky to attend some very good universities, and just kind of the focus on the students and the resources you have at your disposal in places like that kind of blew me away. And
Mm.
I have to say that, it's an amazing experience. I consider myself very fortunate to, you know, have the opportunity to experience that.
Yeah. Does that help you in product management that you have exposure to different cultures and people are different, but at the same time some things are similar? So when you're developing software, is that something you consciously think about, or is it just that you've been exposed to that, so it's inherent in what you think about?
Yeah, I don't know if I think so much about that in my day-to-day work. Um, I think, yeah, I don't know if that helps too much, but I do think that, part of being a good product manager is to understand people's needs. And I think it goes back to this old story, right? If you asked people 100 years ago what they wanted faster horses. They didn't
Yeah.
want a car necessarily. But if you ask them a different way, you can ask them, what do you want? And they would say, I want to get faster from A to B. And I
Yes.
think there's real value in an example like that, that as a product manager, you should think a lot about the value proposition of what you're offering and what your customers need, much more than the details around, what are you actually delivering. Of course, that's important too. But I think didn't Jeff Bezos say something like, you know, there's not a world where people want their packages to arrive later, right? They want them faster. So
Yeah.
whatever you can do to make that happen, that's probably good.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of areas you can establish these value propositions that are probably never going to change. This is always going to be true, and you can use those as your guiding principles. At least that's how I like to think about things.
Yeah, I think that's very insightful. Yeah, absolutely. So you've been at Microsoft about 5 years, and I think you've had a couple of different roles there. Um, but your current role, senior product manager for supply chain management, around 7 months ago or so. Walk us through the Microsoft journey. How did you become, in charge of asset management and supply chain?
Right. Good question. I guess they pretty much needed someone to do that job. I mean, your most people's careers are kind of a mix
Yeah.
of, opportunities, luck. You happen to be, and you have the right skill sets at the right time.
Yeah.
So, and then also, it was kind of a a good match too with my engineering background, as I said. It's like, so being, so I wouldn't say I'm completely new to the ERP world. I do have some foundation, and I do think it's a difficult area to ramp up in if you have zero knowledge of the space. So
Yeah.
that definitely helped me being able to transition. And yeah, so it's like a mix of things that brought me here.
Tell us about the challenges and the rewards of your position. What do you like to do? What's the exciting part of the job? What do you look forward to when you come in?
Right. So as I mentioned before, what I really love is building product that people use. I do love the learning along the way, and I think that's really something that I didn't anticipate when I got into this role, I guess like 10 years ago in product management, right? When you see things from the outside, everything looks pretty, static and thought out, and that some product arrives, and as a consumer, you don't, or a user of a product, you don't, it's just there. And it looks like, yeah, this is how it's meant to be and everything. But the whole process there is typically pretty convoluted, pretty chaotic. And I would say the more impactful of a product, the more so, right? So, so it's so I really enjoyed that journey, and but it also requires a good team and people who are on the same page. So I would say there are a lot of things I really appreciate, like this whole thing, building products, seeing our customers using them. I love that. I love talking to customers and getting their feedback. And of course, day to day, it's really rewarding to work with our engineers, right? We have a very good working relationship. I know some organizations, it's very separate, and you kind of, PM kind of write specs and then throw them over the fence, and then engineering will kind of figure that out. But we have a very, like almost symbiotic relationship where we discuss things and make decisions. And I really like that. I feel like even though, of course, I have my responsibilities and they have their responsibilities, we're driving it forward in kind of, a collaborative way, which I find very, very productive.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Let's transition a little bit to technology trends, because that's always a fun topic, I think. You have a strong background in machine learning, AI, and of course that's Microsoft's focus going forward. Can you share any new innovations that may have be on the horizon, or that are especially exciting, that are coming to your area of Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is news to a lot of people, but the whole agentic way of thinking about things, I think is extremely exciting. And it also challenges the way, I think about things. So in, let's say, the old days, which is basically like 4 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Things were very, I would say, deterministic. For example, I worked a lot with kind of image tagging solutions where you have like 1 million images, you have no idea what's in them, and you would like to reuse them, you like to index them so you can search. And with ImageNet, which was that 2012 or something came out, that was all of a sudden something you could do reliably, and that just scaled up and got really, really great. And and you run your images through that, you get your tags out, and then you can do more or less advanced search on that, and retrieve images, which is amazing. And that's kind of traditional AI now. But with LLMs, what I find fascinating is that you can actually get improvements out of iterations. So I think when LLMs really came out, I still had this idea that all the knowledge was just captured within this system, like giant neural network, and then you ask it something and it just gives you the best response. But then it turns out that actually, if you then feed it back in and say, "Oh, like, is this? What do you think about this response?" It can critique it and actually iterate on it and get better. I think that took me some time to really appreciate what that means. That in some sense it's a lot like a human. If you just ask me, write an essay on a certain topic, and you cannot erase any words. You just start writing, and then 10 pages later you're done. Then of course that will be of lower quality than if you say write the essay, but first construct an outline, then think about that, then do a draft, critique that, and so on. And I find it fascinating that these LLMs work in a similar fashion, and you can actually get much better responses if you allow them to iterate. And I think this is something that we're just really starting to see the benefits from. And then of course there's all these things about, okay, what if the agents start to leverage each other, work together, things like that. So for sure, these are really exciting times we're living in, and it's really exciting to be in tech these days, where things like these are happening. Not just on the product side, but also like personal productivity, and you get all these tools that you can now use. And I use LLMs all the time to do research, to structure thinking, to help me brainstorm all kinds of things. So I know I'm not the only one who's excited about this, but it's a really amazing shift in what we can do and what's possible.
Oh, yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, I can't stop myself from trying to imagine maybe where asset management supply chain in the Microsoft ecosystem, where that's going to be in 5 years. We've come so far in the last 5 years. So I don't know. What do you think will be kind of the next big step that you take?
Right. I mean, it kind of goes back to the same topic, right? These agents is going to be the next thing, and now we're getting them to work in silos and very specific contexts. But then really when they start interacting is where this gets extremely powerful. So you can think about, we just have an agent that's coming out in the next release in public preview, where where they'll help you understand emails back and forth, which is basically a little bit like an API. It's like a human API. I talk to you, you get to talk back, and so that will help with all these like very manual tasks. But then where it gets really exciting is, as I said, when that's coupled to other agents inside of SCM that will then take that information and reason over it and make decisions and do execute on things. So I know this is kind of broad, but I think this whole theme is like tremendously exciting and has tremendous potential. Yeah, we'll see. But it's also something, it shifts all the time. So, as I said in the beginning, everything looks pretty, stable, and there's like a stable roadmap and everything. But in reality, there are new opportunities. You evaluate them. You figure, oh, is that what we should go after, and everything. But this whole theme, of course, is super exciting.
Sure. Do you think that changes the workforce in any way, or maybe it just changes the skill sets that the workforce may need to interact with agents and to be able to effectively do their jobs just in a different way? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so of course in asset management we think a lot about the maintenance worker, and I don't see their skill set is going to change tremendously, but they will just have much better assistance and much better tools to get things done. I see a lot of opportunities in kind of adaptive experiences where, depending on the situation of the maintenance worker, you can generate experiences that will help them, right? I'm asked to change this thing. How do I do that? It'll run through the documentation, figure that out, and show that to you, instead of you have to go through 500 pages of things. Also context and historical data, I think is going to be pretty important. Like I'm out here working on something, but I can't really figure this thing out. Who else has been doing this kind of work? Can you help me, contact those people and unblock me? Just things like that. I think everything will be much more frictionless. And also one of my big things is, a lot of companies have a lot of data, but not that much insight. and I think it really goes in that direction, that these LLMs and agents and the systems we're building will help you take all this data and really produce insights that are actionable, that the workers can use. So I think on that side, it's probably not going to change so much the skill sets required. I think on the more of like the back office side, it's much more. It's difficult to predict. It's the same thing with my job. Like, how is that going to change the next 5 years? Really difficult to make any kind of meaningful predictions about that. It will probably change. I think that's something you can say for sure.
Yeah, that's inevitable, right? Excellent. Okay, well, let's transition. You're, of course, we look forward to our upcoming asset management conference, and of course, you're going to be a speaker there. So. Well, I think you're actually doing a roundtable with Thomas where you're speaking with customers and interacting with them, answering questions. We're really excited about that. What do you like most about interacting with customers and those kinds of aspects? What does that do for you?
Well, in some sense, it's the most important thing that I do in my job, right? Because we have a lot of ideas, which is true for any, good organization. You have a lot of ideas, you can do 10% of them. Then my job is to figure out what 10% should I do. And that's not super trivial at all, and it's pretty important. So talking to customers really helped me validate that the 10% that I carved out are the right 10%, or maybe sometimes it's not. So it's just so valuable to me to understand where customers are at, what they're thinking about, how they're thinking about value, what's top of mind for them, how they see things moving or shifting the next few years. So yeah, I'm super excited for this opportunity, for sure. And I'd much rather do that than I love presenting, stuff, ideas, my work, kind of evangelizing the gospel.
Right.
But to be honest, I get the most value from discussions with customers and not just like a one-way monologue.
Right. And what do you think? The customers who are attending Connect, are they going to take away from your session? They're going to get practical, a little visionary, a little bit of both. What's going to be their takeaway?
Yeah, hopefully a bit of both. I think it's a good match also with Thomas. He has so deep technical experience, and for sure, all that I'll just kind of get out of his way, and I think more on the hopefully we can get people excited about the visions we have for the product, and also I just want to establish a good relationship with the customers, right? And hopefully they walk away knowing that they can reach out to me if they have any questions or any great ideas or just anything. So that's also an important aspect of my work that takes some time to build up this rapport with customers and just build the trust and everything there. So, and of course there it helps a lot to actually be on site and see each other in person. Yeah,
that's wonderful. One of the things I love about Microsoft is how customer focused they are, and how they really listen to customers and try and execute on customer issues, problems, opportunities, and we really appreciate you, attending and interacting with the team and the customers that are attending. So thank you very much.
Absolutely excited.
Good. I think that brings us to the end of our session today. I really appreciate you joining, and out there in the Dynaway Dialogues customer world, please, wherever you're watching this, like, subscribe, follow, let us know if you have any feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And Jonas, we'll see you at Connect coming up next month, and look forward to your time and your session.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
See everybody next time.